WeOmaha News on KPAO.
Hello, welcome to WeOmaha News. My name is Deshaun Cunningham.
And I'm Kitrin Zeichel.
Over the next 2 episodes, we will be discussing transportation issues in the Omaha area. While the cost of owning and operating a car can be expensive, more people are turning to transit alternatives such as buses and biking for their commutes. To learn more about what Omaha offers cyclists, we spoke with Sarah Johnson, a board member of the transit alternative advocacy group Mode Shift Omaha. So we're here today with Sarah Johnson. She's a board member of Mode Shift Omaha. Now, Sarah, explain to people what Mode Shift does and how you guys operate.
Yeah, Mode Shift Omaha is a transportation nonprofit. We're actually finally legitimately a 501c3, and we've actually worked just to advocate for transportation options in the area, whether it's bike, walk, transit.
Now, what caused you to get involved with Mode Shift before it became official?
I've been actually with Mode Shift since day one in the meeting room where there was maybe 5 or 10 people in this public engagement session, and we said, how do you get something like this nice lovely plan that we're looking at actually passed into reality? You know, how can I ride these bike lanes that we're looking at on the projector, you know? And so they said, well, generally it's a grassroots organization that kind of comes together and starts engaging the public and working with the city to kind of make these things turn into reality. So we looked around and said, well, here's a clipboard, put your name on the list if you want to actually, you know, kind of start that movement. So
how much have you seen an increase in biking since Mode Shift has become active? What sort of projects have you guys taken the lead on in getting the word out about biking and bike lanes?
Well, yeah, a lot of what Mode Shift does is just going to be education and kind of advocacy. We worked with Metro a little bit, and getting the bike racks on the front of the buses was a huge thing. They didn't think that there was actually going to be a need for it. They didn't want to do it, and now they're full all the time. It's been really astronomical, the amounts of people using bikes as transportation, and so that's what we really focus more on, is the transportation element of people on bikes. But what's fun is to see people out on the street and not know who they are. But as far as actually quantifying the numbers, we're working with the city to do some more bike ped counts, because right now the city, we were hoping last year was going to kind of take the lead on that, and they didn't, but we're hoping to work with them now to get some real hard numbers so we can say, here's what it was 4 years ago, here's where we are now, and actually
do you anticipate, once you actually have data that can confirm how much bike traffic is increasing, that will lead to other things like more lanes? Other cities have more dedicated right-of-ways for bikes. Where do you see biking going in Omaha in the next 5 years or so?
It's kind of that whole chicken and the egg thing. Well, no one wants to build more bike lanes because no one uses the bike lanes. Well, the conversations I have in the shop every day are about people not feeling safe on the streets, so they don't want to ride bikes until they feel safe. The city doesn't want to build more bike lanes until they see more people riding. So I'm hoping that once we do the bike ped counts, we will realize that, like, the Burt Street route is huge. It goes from Benson to downtown, and that's a very well-traveled route. And so actually, again, getting some numbers to back up the usage will be super helpful. And then I think that they will see that we are going in the right direction and hopefully build some more infrastructure.
Now, is it the city that would be in charge of tracking that, or would it be a city planning office?
So yeah, the planning department would be, but it's within the city. Yeah, City of Omaha. We try to play nice with. One thing, another thing I should say that Mode Shift does a lot with is the transparency element. We talk a lot about transportation, but the other issue that we feel very strongly and passionately about is transparency within how you plug in, and, you know, because whether or not you can just say, hey, I want more bike lanes out there. How do we get more bike lanes? Well, where do you jump into the process? And a lot of the processes within public works and city planning are so cloudy and hard to kind of understand that that's something else that we're doing a lot of work with, is speaking with folks in the city and try to kind of refine some processes so that we know where we can actually plug in and be engaged and make a difference.
While most Omahans do drive, current bike lanes are being expanded and linked to trails to offer more options for cyclists.
WeOmaha News spoke with Eric Williams of the Papio, Missouri Natural Resource District to discuss plans to connect urban Omaha with suburban and rural bike trails and beyond.
Okay, we're here with Eric Williams at the Natural Resources District. Eric, tell us what it is that you do related to bikes and trails with NRD.
I'm the Natural Resources Planner here at the Papio, Missouri River Natural Resources District. And so part of my job is project management for trail projects throughout the Omaha metro area, and then north the counties along the Missouri River. So most prominently the trails along the West Papio, the Big Papio, and the Little Papio Creeks. That would be the West Papio, Big Papio, and Keystone trails have been largely constructed by the NRD for active transportation and recreation purposes.
Let's take a look at the map, because I think most people, when you say Papio this, Papio that, I think most people only know Platte, Missouri River.
Sure.
And I think that the creeks are kind of a mystery probably to the average person.
Sure. And so the NRD, along with the cities of Omaha and Council Bluffs, puts out the metro area trails map. This version was released in January of 2014. And so it shows with the white lines the existing trails through Sarpy County and Douglas County. And then the dotted lines show the projected or future trail locations. And so over the last 2 years, some of these have been completed, and we are working to update this map and show where the new trails are and where future trail projects are going to be located.
So are any of these trails on city streets, or these trails are all related, they're off-road and they don't interact with traffic?
Yep, the trails map is specific to dedicated right-of-way trails. There are some that are on the side of city streets, and so the 144th Street Trail runs along one side and in some places both sides of 144th Street. That starts just north of Interstate 80 and then does run all the way up to about Maple Street. And so it's a pretty significant trail alongside of that road. But primarily this map shows the trails along the creeks.
Okay, so let's get back to the creeks for a second. So it looks to me like if your Missouri River was basically a north-south and your Platte is coming in east-west, it's almost like the spokes of a bicycle, because you have the Keystone Trail, and that's going along what creek?
The Little
Papio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the one that's basically closest to the river, running kind of north-south. And then the next one is the Big Papio, and then the next one out is the West Papio. So basically what you have are 3 creeks basically, and then they're all converging. Are they all converging, or?
Yep, so the Little Papio and the Big Papio, or the Keystone and Big Papio trails, come together at about just east of 72nd and Q, right behind
Okay, so down around Ralston.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so the 2 creeks come together, which means the 2 trails come together, and then the Big Papio Creek and the Keystone Trail continues south out of Douglas County, down and into Bellevue and across Sarpy County, and then down at 36th Street, just north of Highway 370, the Big Papio meets in with the West Papio Creek and the West Papio Trail, and then from there the trail continues down along past Highway 75 all the way down to the Missouri River, and then it bends back up and follows along the frontage of the Missouri River.
Okay. And just, do you have a sense in your head of how many miles of trails we have?
Yep, there's about 120 miles of trails through the Omaha metro area, and that's, again, from the Sarpy up and into Douglas County.
Mm-hmm. And is there any planning through NRD for an east-west bike corridor? Because this is all kind of going north-south in this spoke pattern. Is there anything planned to get from West Omaha to downtown?
The NRD primarily focuses on stormwater management and other resource management in the metro area. And so in stabilizing the creeks starting in the 70s and 80s, at the top of the banks of the creeks or on top of a levee is a great place to put a trail. And so that's how the NRD originally got involved in trail construction and how we've continued along those 3 main trunk lines of the trail. There are also other branch trails that now connect people and provide additional access to those mainline trails. So you can see through Elmwood Park or along Happy Hollow Boulevard, that trail comes down and ties into the Keystone Trail.
Okay. And I see that it's dotted here. So is this under construction, or this is in the future where you'll be going from Sorensen Parkway down into Happy Hollow?
That's a future planned trail, and the city of Omaha would be pretty heavily involved with
yeah, because it looks like it's
one.
along streets, not on.
Yep. So there is some of the Happy Hollow Boulevard trail that leads up and into kind of Metcalf Park, and then Fontenelle Boulevard follows north, and so that's a potential location. And that's not an immediate future project. It's just something that would make good sense to provide additional connectivity back down to these 3 backbone trails.
Okay, so tell us about the project in South Omaha that's going to connect over to Keystone.
Yeah, the South Omaha Trail is a collaboration between the NRD and the City of Omaha Parks Department. South Omaha Trail Phase 1 connects from Keystone along about the north side of F Street over to about 45th and F Street. South Omaha Phase 2 is currently under construction and will pick up at about 45th and F Street, It will go under 42nd Street, right next to the railroad tracks, but elevated quite a bit. And then along D Street over to about 36th Street. At 36th Street, it'll cross over 36th Street, just south of the interstate and south of the railroad tracks there, across the road, and then it will run down just along the south side of the interstate. So you can actually see people out there and you can see where the trail is going to be constructed there. It will then turn and run under Interstate 80 and meet up with the south end of Field Club Trail right at Vinton Street or by the base of the big grain silos.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that project's been in process for a number of years. The NRD is funding phase 2 construction of this, and the city of Omaha is handling all the project management and overseeing the construction.
And when do you think riders will be able to actually go from those big grain silos down to Keystone?
It should be this summer.
Sometime this summer?
Yep.
Okay.
It's been a lot of construction was completed last year, a lot of the groundwork. Some stormwater facilities in the area were also completed. Retaining walls, and they should be out pouring the concrete and the finished surface on the trail just in the next couple weeks as the weather gets nicer.
Okay, super. Okay, so the Omaha metro area is about 1 million people, give or take. How many people do you think are actively riding bikes?
It's kind of tough to tell, but a professor at UNO several times did a trail fest, which studied at about 6 or 8 different locations the number of people coming through. So on a Saturday morning, they would set out and count people walking, people riding bikes, people rollerblading, using the trails in any method. That was just one morning in the spring on a weekend, and so it's not a comprehensive look at the number of people who might be on the trails. But it was, I think, somewhere between 100 and 200 people. They counted between maybe 9 and 12 on that morning each of those years. And then they had a little map of different data points of how many people were using the trails at that one time. There's been other efforts to count just...
And so what's a number? Like what?
Something like 100 or 200 people were counted using the trails, and that was between people walking, people riding bikes on that one particular morning. So that probably shouldn't be extrapolated out to any kind of a larger number.
Right. So basically what you're saying is we have no idea what the ridership is using the recreational trail system. There just isn't a way to figure that out.
There hasn't been in the past, but there is some new technology. There are, just like traffic counter strips, there are little devices that you could put on trails that can actually distinguish between a bike and a person walking. And so we've talked about potentially identifying some trail locations and figuring out, is this a good place to install something like that to do some trail user counts, and that would allow continuous counting throughout the day, throughout the season, throughout the year, to get a better idea, so we can say, this is the number of people who are using the trails, this is the value of the trails to the community.
When I think of biking in the summer especially, I think of the taco ride on Thursday nights. Is there anything equivalent to that on this side of the river?
Yeah, so the Wabash Trace, or Wabash Trail over in Council Bluffs and kind of southeast from there is a chipped limestone surface trail, and the Mopac Trail is designed to go from Omaha to Lincoln, and it is also a chipped limestone 10-foot wide trail. So starting down in kind of southwest part of the community.
So where would you drive? If you're going to drive with your bike and park, where would you pick up the Mopac Trail?
In Springfield is probably a pretty good place. The city of Springfield, if you take Interstate 80 and then take what's called Highway 50 or 144th Street, directly south to Springfield. Yep, there's a nice park. And we did some cost share towards construction of a 1-mile concrete section of the trail through the city of Springfield. And then that heads south along Highway 50 all the way down to the Platte River. And then it heads west for about 4 miles over to the Lead Bridge, which is a former railroad bridge that is now a dedicated bicycle and pedestrian bridge, and crosses over to the south side. So it's about 12 miles along Highway 50 and Highway 31 and across the river. And a vast majority, except that 1-mile stretch in the bridge itself, of that is a chipped limestone surface.
And you can actually go from there all the way to Lincoln?
There's about a 10-mile gap on the south side of the river where the trail isn't constructed currently, but starting in Elmwood, Nebraska, the trail does pick up and then runs about 25 miles into eastern Lincoln. And so from the other side, the Lower Platte South NRD is continuing to build that trail towards Omaha. We've essentially built the portion that would get into towards the metro area. We're trying to continue from the current northern end of the Mopac a little bit closer up and into the main branches of the metro system. So there's a couple miles to finish. But from the metro area, you can start at 144th Street or Highway 50 and head towards Lincoln. In the future, we are, like I said, attempting to connect that over to the West Papio Trail, because that then connects to Keystone and Big Papio. So that is something that the NRD is working on constructing in the future.
So do you have any relationships with bike shops in the area? Do you make sure they have like the latest maps? Like, do you try to work with them to increase awareness of the trails and increase bike ridership? Or are you strictly about construction and maintenance and the big picture stuff?
No, the purpose of the trails is for people to get out and enjoy them and have access to natural resources and to have active transportation and recreation. And so we do want to encourage people to get out there. We provide these maps to different bike shops around town. A box of these is sent to several different shops each time they're printed, and then we provide more if they're ever needed. We just took a box down to the Omaha Convention and Visitors Bureau downtown. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we work with people to encourage information about the trail system. Mm-hmm. We answer questions about new trail construction. Maintenance is usually the responsibility of the city where the trail is located. And so that means Bellevue for a large portion of the south part of the trails, Papillion and La Vista, and then the city of Omaha through a large portion of the Big Papio Trail and the Keystone Trail. So we let people know that if there's a maintenance issue, we're glad to help you get to the right people, but that's usually a question for the city where the trail is located. So,
and what's this one?
So this one is another map in the area which someone else might better be able to explain. The Metro Area Trails map is specific to the trails, but the Omaha Metro Area Bicycle map was printed in 2015. It's an update of a map originally from about 2008, and it does show all of the active transportation corridors.
And who created this map? What agency?
WeOmaha Omaha
okay.
Kind of took the lead on this.
So they're like
project.
a nonprofit, right?
Yep,
WeOmaha Omaha?
they are.
Okay.
And so this map has the trails shown as, again, those kind of thick trunk lines, the green lines here, and then you can see different types of bicycle facilities on streets or streets where you might be encouraged to ride or not encouraged to ride in order to get around the community. And so this shows, again, all of the Douglas and Sarpy area, and then the other side is a more specific look at the urban part of Omaha. So if you're a bicycle commuter, this bicycle map is particularly helpful. It includes the trails, but it also includes a lot more bicycle commuter information, and then rules of the road, and then a map of the Bicycle Omaha system that's continuing to be expanded. And
where does LiveWell Omaha distribute these maps? Like where can a person pick one up?
These were originally printed in 2015 and handed out. There's a list of bicycle shops on the back of this map.
So mostly you'd have to go to a bike shop to pick one up.
You could contact them, and these are particularly popular. They're kind of a glossy finish and a little more durable. So if you throw it in your backpack or carry it in your pocket while you're riding, it's a pretty good reference guide. Okay. You can talk to the bike shops, and they should be able to help you find a copy of this this map somewhere around.
Okay. And do you bike to work?
I do sometimes. It's about a 16-mile trip, and so I think I did maybe 3 or 4 times last year, and it's starting to warm up, and so I will probably be riding again in the near future here. But there unfortunately aren't trails that go all the way from Dundee, where I live, to our office here at Chocolate Hills. But that is something that I'm working on, continuing to get connections established from the downtown urban part of Omaha out here towards where our office is, because this is a great recreation area for people to visit.
Next, we spoke with Greg Youell and Michael Felschow of MAPA, or Metro Area Planning Agency, to discuss how biking fits in with the overall Omaha transportation plan. We talked with Eric Williams at the NRD, and he spoke about some of the Western trail systems and how they connect with the city of Omaha. We've seen a lot of new bike lanes and more people commuting by bike. What do you guys expect to see from MAPA to push along the increase in bike transit?
Well, our long-range transportation plan has a goal of complete streets, and that the different cities would identify certain corridors for complete streets. And so we're probably not going to have complete street on every single thing. What that means is a complete street is a street that accommodates multiple modes of transportation. A lot of times traditionally our roads have been built primarily for the vehicles, and sidewalks might be there, they might not be there. But when you see a complete street, it's kind of, you know it when you see it. There'll be nice medians. A pedestrian might feel safe there, or might have amenities such as a bike lane or a side path and things of that nature. One of the things that MAPA has been working on in the past few years is a regional bicycle pedestrian plan. And Michael, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Heartland Connections plan?
Yeah, the plan actually has been completed. It had a pretty good public involvement process. The plan covered the entire metro area, and really we looked at barrier breaking. Where are the missing links of the existing trail systems and then existing streets where there are bike lanes, and trying to find the connection so that people can actually get from the western part of the community to the eastern part of the community and get to work or have recreational aspects. So the plan looked at identifying all those existing corridors, and it also looked at future corridors. As roads like Center gets redeveloped or adjusted or repaved, then where's the opportunity to actually add some bike lanes in there? And the city was very excited about that corridor in particular because they feel that it's going to be redeveloped in the next 10 to 15 years.
And which portion of Center is this?
That's, I believe it's just east of 680. So that section will probably be redeveloped in the next 15 to 20 years, probably 15 years or so. And as these roads are widened or improved, upgraded, maybe even complete streets, there's an opportunity to find ways to put in the bike lanes. So that's the plan. Looked at several corridors throughout the entire region, and what we're going to be doing now is taking that plan, because it's a standalone plan, and putting part of our 2050 long-range transportation plan. So it's now will become part of the regional plan with all the other modes.
And I would just clarify on that. On Center Street, I don't know that it's necessarily we're going to have bike lanes on Center Street, but it talked about having enhanced bicycle pedestrian facilities.
Yeah.
So that could be a trail, a side path, something like that.
It could be concurrent.
Yeah, and so what that study showed is kind of a whole spectrum of different bicycle amenities, pedestrian amenities you can put, all the way from, if you see the sharrows on the road that just indicate, hey, this is a route that's been designated for cyclists, all the way to full-blown infrastructure where you have dedicated infrastructure. So that trail, depending on this particular street, identifies any number of potential solutions for those.
And one thing that when we talked with, I mentioned about the NRD trails, and then when we spoke with some people from Mode Shift Omaha, they said that one issue they're having is counting the bike riders. Is there a way that you guys gauge ridership to tell? I think there's just like an anecdotal evidence. I see more people, but as far as numbers, is there a way to gauge that currently, or is that something you guys are still exploring?
Yeah, you can do bicycle counting, and there's a professor at UNO who's done some of that. MAP has not been involved with bicycle counts, but just as you have traffic counting equipment, you see the hoses that go across the street. There's equipment that can count cyclists at different locations. Actually, the city of Omaha a couple of years ago led a cyclist and pedestrian counting effort at select locations around where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic.
Yeah, and that's what they had mentioned as well too. Yeah. They cited the same one, but and I guess they even said that was kind of they said they got about 100 people, but that was just a one day. So like I said, most of it right now it's anecdotal, but I think it's clear that what one person said, it was the chicken and the egg scenario. People would bike more if there was more lanes, but to have more lanes, you have to show there's more people. So I think that'd be interesting to get some more concrete numbers on that. I bike as well, yes, so it's a personal interest for me. So.
Right.
So when we were doing the interview with Eric Williams, I noticed that there was a lot of GoPro footage in back. Somebody was riding and recording their bike experience. Was that you?
That wasn't me. That was actually our editor, Andrew Jones, who does a lot of biking. I mean, I bike as well, but he does more off-road. I do more on-road.
You do on-road. Okay, you do on-road in Omaha.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you live in the Midtown area. So tell me what routes you would typically take to go someplace. Or do you just bike for health?
I do a little bit of both. Mostly I ride in the street, and I know technically you're not supposed to, but most people I think now, even if there's not bike lanes, they're getting used to seeing sharing the road with bikes. So I don't think it's as big a deal.
So you ride on Dodge?
No, Dodge is probably the only street I don't drive on.
So you ride on Leavenworth?
Yeah, Leavenworth is pretty good. Farnham, Cumming Street, Burt Street downtown. I actually just this last week took the Ped Bridge over to the Wabash Trail in Council Bluffs that goes on the taco ride, but I've not been on the full taco ride yet.
This year, but you've done the taco ride.
I've not done the taco ride, period.
Never done the
no,
taco ride?
Never done it.
Oh my God, I do the taco ride. Now, you grew up in Omaha. Did you always bike on the streets, or did you take it up recently?
When I was growing up, we lived in small towns for a while, so we did a lot of biking in creeks and things like that. We weren't really allowed to ride in the street, but now I do. And it's kind of fun because when you go as fast as cars and they look over you and are like, how is he doing that? So it is, I mean, and I've never been a fan of driving. To me, it is expensive. I don't care to pay for the insurance or gas or all that. So biking is a good way to, you know, get around, but also do something with your time and not just be sitting there stuck in traffic, you know, breeze past it all.
And you did, you were biking to lose some weight over the winter, right?
Yeah.
How much weight did you lose?
I'd say in the last year I've dropped, since I started biking, I've probably dropped about 20, 30 pounds.
And did you combine that with diet, or did you just lose the weight from exercise alone?
Mostly just staying active, but I do a lot of swimming and outdoor stuff more so than I used to. But I want to get an off-road bike or some kind of hybrid because I do want to be able to go off-road and in town seamlessly. So, do you bike?
I do bike. I have a kind of a mountain bike, and I got thinner tires for it because I thought maybe the reason I was so slow on the taco ride was that, you know, maybe the thinner tires would help me, you know, speed up, but it didn't work.
Is the taco ride paved or is that like dirt?
No, it's that crushed kind of gray stone.
Yeah. So you probably do want a wider tire then.
Yeah, so I don't have thin tires, but I don't have mountain bike tires anymore. They're kind of in between, and but I'm just a slowpoke.
So the taco ride, no free tacos?
No.
Then what's the point? For more information on Omaha's upcoming transit plans, visit the WeOmaha News Facebook page to read about MAPA's 2050 initiative, learn more about Mode Shift Omaha, and find maps on local bike trail maps. With WeOmaha News, I'm Deshaun Cunningham.
And I'm Kitrin Zeichel.
Thanks for watching, and join us next week for part 2. Good night.
This has been WeOmaha News.